Hi, I'm Jessica Sipovic, Training Specialist with the Illinois Center for Transition and Work with the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign.
In today's workshop, we are going to discuss developing multifaceted worksites within large businesses. Some of the objectives for today's workshop is going to be defining work-based learning and internships. We're also going to discuss why large businesses can make beneficial multifaceted worksites. We'll review the benefits of community worksites for both businesses and students. And we'll explore steps for establishing worksites within businesses. I just want to make sure that we are on the same page with what work-based learning is. It's defined by NTACT-C as an educational approach or instructional methodology that uses the workplace or real work to provide students with the knowledge and skills that will help them connect school experiences to real-life work, activities, and future career opportunities. You're going to see this abbreviated as WBL in a lot of our stuff, or sometimes you see it as WBLES, Weebles. So I'll try to make sure that we're clear about those acronyms as we go through. So work-based learning opportunities can be done in a lot of different ways. They can be done in conjunction with private businesses, for-profit institutions, public or nonprofit businesses in your community. There's a wide range of ways that this can be done. What it does require is an in-depth engagement of youth with oversight and evaluation of acquired work relevant skills by identified staff. So it has to be clear who's doing what, and that this is something that we're not just pushing into a business and conducting all of the support and oversight. It needs to be done by the natural supports or the staff within that business. And it must be provided in an integrated setting in the community, meaning their non-disabled peers are also working in that environment. So other people without disabilities. You see kind of often like this range, the spectrum, this continuum of work-based learning kind of options, what those look like. And these will look different at different ages or different kind of phases an individual is within kind of their work readiness. Everything from job shadowing, informal interviews, workplace mentoring, volunteer experiences, on-the-job training, internships, apprenticeships, and then that big goal of paid employment. We are today focusing solely on internships. Work-based learning is such a very wide topic. We want to make sure that today we are just really going to be focusing on internship work-based learning experiences. So that is defined as a temporary position with an emphasis on-the-job training that can be paid or unpaid. That's an important part. An internship is an opportunity to develop specific job-related skills before you are qualified for an actual job. That's how our friends over at NTACT define it. And I think that's a really clear and concise definition. I think some of the things we need to be clear here, paid or unpaid, and that this is something that they're doing to develop skills before they're qualified for the job. If they were already qualified for the job, they should be paid employees, right? So internship is that preparation experience that is a temporary time-limited experience. The Department of Labor, there's a very clear definition or differentiation, I suppose I should say, between unpaid and paid internships and what that means. The Department of Labor has very clear guidance on that. And there's something that's called the primary beneficiary test, okay? And that's how we determine, is this something that should be paid or something that it's okay that it's unpaid? And this is all under the Fair Labor Standards Act. Obviously, it's a protection in this scenario for our students. So they're not doing something for free that they should otherwise be getting paid for. So that FLSA and this primary beneficiary test is what kind of courts have used to determine this quote unquote economic reality of the intern-employer relationship, to determine who is benefiting the most, who is the primary beneficiary of this arrangement. If the primary beneficiary is the employer, then it should be paid. If the primary beneficiary of that experience is the intern, in our situation, our students, then it's okay that it's unpaid. They can pay, of course, but it's all right that it's not, depending on who's the most beneficial to that experience. So here's the test. There's 6 criteria that must be applied when making the determination to figure out who's the primary beneficiary. The internship, even though it includes actual operation of the facilities of the employer, it is similar to training, which would be given an educational environment. So basically, it's a training experience, an educational experience in an authentic workplace. They are conducting and doing work, but the whole focus of it is education and training. 2, the internship experience is for the benefit of the intern. Again, like we said, they are the beneficiary. They are the ones winning here. They're getting this training experience. Number 3, the intern does not displace regular employees, but works under close supervision of existing staff. So they are not filling a vacancy for free. That is a really important distinction there, and that they are under supervision of people who do work there. Number 4, the employer that provides the training derives no immediate advantage from the activities of the intern. I think this lends itself a ton to 3. It's like they're not benefiting, like, for instance, they're not having to fill a position and, benefiting their bottom line from having an intern in this spot. They should still be filling roles and those kinds of things. That immediate advantage is something that would need to be clear that is not something that the employer would be benefiting from. Number 5, the intern is not necessarily entitled to a job at the conclusion of the internship. So it is not a guarantee. This isn't like a training period that they're going to automatically step into a position, because then they should have been paid for that training, right? And number 6, the final one, the employer and the intern understand that the intern is not entitled to wages for the time spent in the internship, meaning they're not going to get back pay. It's agreed upon that this is going to be unpaid. It's agreed upon. It's not guaranteeing a job, that you are here for an educational training experience and an authentic work environment, and that the primary benefit is to the participant, the intern, and not the business, and that they are doing work that is to benefit their training and their work readiness development. I'm going to go back to that real quick, because that is a lot, but it is so important that that is clear and defined, again, in the kind of planning prep part, which we will get to later. I just want to make sure that it is very clear that the Department of Labor makes sure that we are doing right by the people participating in internships, whether they're paid or unpaid. There's other, I think I've heard a range of things based on what time limits are allowed. And I want to make sure that we're just all on the same page of how the Department of Labor defines the time limits on work-based learning experiences. So career exploration, which is defined as a brief exposure to a variety of work settings that may include work site field trips or job shadowing, that is limited to 5 hours. Okay. So, when you're setting up experiences, again, this is per kind of environment. So they could go to many jobs for a maximum of 5 hours, or do multiple job shadows at different places. But that is a very time limited thing, career exploration. A career assessment is 90 hours. That's a much bigger thing. It's an extended observation where the student undertakes work assignments for the purpose of assessing his or her interests, aptitudes, and support needs. So again, this wouldn't be defined as an internship, because internships can be a little bit longer than 90 hours. But when they're spending more time in one place and really evaluating, is this a good fit? Is it not? And again, that would be a supported experience as well. And then work-related training, that is up to 120 hours. And that's a period of work experience for the purpose of training job skills or job-related skills. Again, really focusing on particular skills, maximum of 120 hours per job. They can do 120 hours in one environment and then go to another place and do another 120 hours in a different place. That's awesome. But there is a maximum on that kind of experience. And then an internship It must be established a fixed duration, but there's no maximum necessarily. It's just that there's an end time, right? It has to be something that at some point is going to end. Otherwise, it should be employment. So those are kind of the range of experiences you can offer. Just to be clear, because I have heard people say, oh, but they can only do an internship for a certain amount of time. It's whatever the time is that you establish in your agreement with that work site. All right. So large businesses as work sites. Let's really start to kind of dig into that. So why are we talking about large businesses specifically today? In my personal experience and in doing a lot of reading of literature, I think it's clear that it addresses some of the common barriers to establishing work sites. I know that there are a ton. This is not the panacea to all work site problems that you're going to encounter. But one of the things that it does seem to address in some circumstances is the transportation issue. If you use a large business and you have multiple students doing different internships throughout one particular location, that is going to ease transportation. If you don't have a good reliable or consistent fixed route public transit system in wherever you live, and you're having to hire a bus or van to take you to and from work sites, this is a one drop off, one pickup situation. You're not taking multiple kids to multiple sites all over the place. You all go to one place for your day, do your internships, and then turn around and go back home. In that same vein, staffing is a lot easier when we're in one location. We're not having to split human beings amongst many physical spaces. You can be more efficient with the use of staff within an environment. If you have you and a few teacher assistants, paraprofessionals, job coaches, whatever it looks like in your community, that staffing can be an easier logistically when it comes to everyone being under one facility, one roof. In that same thing as well, opportunities. There's a wider range of experiences. If you go to a larger business, there's a lot of times a cafeteria space, there's going to be facilities, there's going to be a wider range of experiences or opportunities based on students' interests and abilities and skills that you can kind of match or provide rotation of internships throughout that same. So there's a lot more opportunity and you can spread students out. So it's more of an authentic experience. Ideally, this should be a pretty low to no cost thing. So if money is an issue where you are and figuring out how to kind of create opportunities throughout that one drop off, one location, one group of staff in one space should really eliminate a lot of the cost barriers that tend to come up. And larger businesses have larger opportunities. There's more likely that there's going to be potential jobs within those, or that they might be training more transferable skills to other environments and other kind of larger businesses. So we're yielding potentially a higher likelihood of future employment following internships. All right. So just so we're on the same page, when we're talking about a large business, this is kind of what jumps to mind. We're thinking about hospitals or medical centers, community colleges or university campuses, museums, hotels or conference centers, warehouse or distribution centers, manufacturing plants, big box retail stores, everything from IKEA to Costco to Target to Walmart to Fleet Farm. There's a lot of options. Fitness and recreation centers. Those could be community rec centers. Those could be Planet Fitness. It could be a wide range of opportunities there. But that's kind of what we're talking about, these bigger businesses. All right, so the benefits. How are we thinking? I think we can list all day the benefits to students because that's what we know, but we also need to kind of put on our business hat and think about the benefit to businesses in this kind of experience. So When we are thinking from our business perspective as a business owner and really trying to put ourselves in that mindset when we're approaching businesses about establishing potential work sites, I pulled some really great resources from the Office of Disability Employment Policy, which has some really great stuff out there. But first and foremost, bringing a work site of students with disabilities to a larger business is going to bring in innovative and diverse perspectives. We have a lot of diversity and equity and inclusion kind of initiatives right now. It's kind of a hot topic, DEI, with businesses. So it's definitely going to help bring those innovative and diverse perspectives into a business environment that might not have as much diversity already. We can kind of, as a business owner, think, okay, interns could be prospective employees in the future. It's not guaranteed, like we just talked about earlier, but they can also think of this as an opportunity to think, wow, we might have some really high quality, well-trained staff that we could pipeline into a human capital supply here, thinking like a business owner. When we're thinking about the staff that work in that business, this is a really great leadership and growth opportunity for staff. They get to learn, again, kind of from that diversity, equity, inclusion lens, but also some more leadership opportunities that can build within these types of experiences because they do require that kind of close supervision and support from those natural supports that we mentioned earlier. This looks good. For a business, this increased company visibility within the community. You as a school can promote this and put this on social media and bragging rights for this business to say, look what we're doing. And again, this shouldn't be the only reason that they offer these kind of experiences, but it's definitely a fringe benefit. And people like looking good and feeling good and being able to promote that out in the community. So that is a good kind of selling point, if you will. And then some other advantages to a business. There could be potentially some, when we're thinking fiscally here, reduced costs. There's the potential of, like we said, that pipeline opportunity where recruiting and maybe you're less likely to have unfilled positions because you might have opportunities to hire interns in the future. More efficient and effective accommodations. If they get better at providing accommodations, they might be more likely to be able to hire and maintain employees in the future. Like we mentioned, the increased human capital, and there are some state and federal tax incentives for hiring individuals if they choose to disclose their disability. So also something to consider when we're thinking about that future employment potential. Now, the benefits to our students, again, from the Office of Disability Employment, we're thinking, all right, they're getting real world relevant work experience, win-win, right? This is we can only create a simulated work environment in a school classroom with bells ringing and lockers slamming for so long. And we have to get our students out in the community and really get that relevant real world work experience. They're going to be developing and applying work readiness, employability, and various soft skills, all those kind of rolled into that natural environment. They will get to explore potential careers. Again, you can't be what you can't see. So if a student's never even seen what the inside of a manufacturing plant looks like, there's no way for them to know that that might or might not be a good fit for them. We have to do exploration and try stuff on for size and feel it out and see if it's a good fit. And even if the whole job isn't a good fit, maybe there's certain parts of it I was really, really good at. And then I can zero in on jobs that will focus more on the skills and things that I really liked about that job, even if it's not my dream position. I think especially, in big cities, small cities, rural communities, building a professional network is important. So even if that experience or opportunity wasn't the perfect thing for you, people know people. And if you do a good job one place, they might have a recommendation or referral to someone somewhere else that has a good job opportunity or potential internship for another experience. So I think building a professional network and having references and people to turn to is a really great thing for students. especially people that are not their teachers and are out in the community. Obviously, the on-the-job training and provides really great opportunities for career advancement. They're getting that experience, they're getting their hands dirty in that workspace, and this could lead to something, which is really exciting. And then that relationship building with business and community representatives. Again, if that particular job isn't hiring, but maybe another pharmacy is that has a similar kind of position, and those people might know people. So it is really important to kind of have that relationship and be aware of what opportunities are out there in your community, and what is a good fit and what isn't a good fit, which is all part of that kind of exploration that we want our students to do in a really authentic environment. All right, so this first video I'm going to show you just to kind of illustrate, because we've talked about things, but I really think you have to see them to really get a good grip on kind of what I'm talking about here. So we're going to visit a internship site at a manufacturing plant in Arizona, and this is from Daniel Habib, his Untapped short film. We're just going to show a little snippet now, but you can find more of these on his website, which have incredible kind of videos of different transition topics and experiences, and highlighting individuals who are going through the transition process and what that looks like for them. So let's see what these interns and the employers have to say at this manufacturing plant.
Medtronic is the largest device manufacturing company in the world. We're roughly $45 billion to $50 billion, and we have about 85,000 to 87,000 employees.
And we're now into, I think, our fourth rotation of project search interns. Several months ago, a group of our vice presidents from across the world that are responsible for manufacturing organizations were here on our campus. I said to them, so how would you like to have an employee whose productivity is above average, whose attendance is above the norm, whose rate of retention is greater than the norm, all of which are characteristics of people with disabilities? Obviously, that is the profile of the individual that they would like to have employed in their organization.
Okay, so from this equipment, if you go to, say, we do a search for your equipment ID, let's say that we go to KOI 5. How about the one that's at 0? Were you able to verify that they were 0, actual 0?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good to you cross-check. By cross-checking, we are sure.
It's not a case of I'm just trying to do something good for the community. To me, I'm tapping untapped resources. We're a business, and I want people who want to contribute to that business.
Each section where the items is stored, and to see what row is in. It also shows what bin the item is in. I noticed that there's some other empty items that have 0.
We pick the right supervisors for our students and interns to say, okay, they're going to be good role models, good influencers on it. But I was amazed that what the supervisors reported back to us to say they had gotten an education. They had gotten what they felt was more out of it than the students had gotten out of it.
Microchips, making sure they are exactly where they need to be. Making sure that also make sure the microchips match with the other ones without making sure that they weren't mislabeled as well.
When you look at team members with people with disabilities, they bring a completely different breadth of experience and life experiences that they can provide to projects and team members. And by having people with disabilities here, you're actually taking that extra second or extra minute to work with this individual or reflect internally on how are you going to communicate, how are you going to say this so that you get the result that you want. And I actually use that now with everyone that has a language barrier because we're a global company.
At first, I felt, that people with disabilities would be a hindrance, slow me down. I would have to manage what they're doing, constantly checking up on them to make sure that they were okay. They've showed me that they go way beyond where I ever thought the limits were. Some have even helped me to do test programs. U's and P's going here.
Yeah, and these go in different areas by the looks.
Those are resistors. That's right. They're in different areas. So Hunter has been working with me. We have been organizing and cataloging our spare part components that will go on our boards that test our hybrid. So this work that he's doing will actually speed up our ability to fix testers around the world.
Both working with project search interns as well as working with other individuals with disabilities, we haven't found the job that they can't do. In some cases, what it may require is just changing how the job is done, either through equipment or tools or through methods of supervision to make them successful. So, we have individuals with disabilities as engineers, as technicians, in facilities, in administrative support. As people are considering this and saying why, I would ask them why not. There's so many benefits from employing people with disabilities that the answer becomes obvious if you're willing to explore it.
What I do in hybrid maintenance is to do inventory, meaning that I can check and count the amount of items and tools we have. I learned that I need to communicate with other coworkers and needed to respect them while doing your job.
Awesome. Thank you, Christian. Good job.
All right. I hope that helped you just kind of put your head in the space of what it would be like to be in kind of a larger business. I loved hearing the honesty of the employers or the employees of Medtronic and like what they thought it was going to be like and what it really was like in reality. It was really cool to see how they kind of carved out some job experiences and set the students up for those opportunities, as well as kind of the support and check-in systems that they established. Great opportunity to kind of just put in to perspective what these could look like. Again, they're not all going to be the same. And to that point, I wish I could just give you the magic situation where you can just walk into a business and they're going to automatically say, yes, you can bring your students here and open up the doors. But this is not a one size fits all. What worked for me in Chicago is not going to work for someone in a different town or community, because every business is different. The people you're working with are different. So I want to make sure that it is clear that we are going to talk about a lot of things that you can consider and things that have worked, things that have worked in certain contexts, and hopefully you can put together kind of an approach and a plan that will set you up for opportunities within your community. So first of all, I think the first place to start is to figure out what businesses you might want to target within your community. So I think one of the really important things is to figure out like who's on your team of kind of your advocates, but also who knows who in your community. Our parents and our school staff are very connected, and they have a wide range of people that you could potentially connect with. There's I think a great suggestion as maybe that your school staff, kind of orientation or at a staff meeting, maybe have everyone in your building, fill out who they know within certain kind of businesses within your community. They might have a connection to someone that works at the business that you're trying to target, or at a business that you never even considered. Having an in and having someone that, even just to pick their brain and better understand the inner workings of that business, so you can have a better knowledge base going into proposing a potential work site at one of your local businesses. So knowing who's connected, kind of knowing who your advocates are that are going to support this, so you can lean on them when you need them. In that kind of same category, I think there's local business intermediaries like a chamber of commerce or a workforce board. You might also see Career One Stop or American Job Centers, kind of formerly known as unemployment centers, or industry associations. They might be great places to start to kind of tap into who's out there, who's looking for jobs right now, who seems to be a business that is connected or seems to be wanting to kind of be more rooted in their community, which might lend itself to more potential opportunities. And I think the best way to kind of figure out where to potentially go is by doing the community mapping process, which is the process that you use to identify resources within your community, but really zeroing in on what businesses are out there that are larger, that could potentially provide a wide range of internships for students under one roof. So really figuring out what businesses are out there. Who do you know within those businesses? How can we get connected with them? That's kind of our starting point here. We're not going to have time to talk a ton about community mapping today, but the ICTW does have resources on our website and another webinar on community mapping. So if you're not familiar with that process, I highly recommend that you check that out as just another tool to have in your toolbox. And then once you kind of zeroed in, all right, this is the business I'm going to focus on. I think this is the best one. It's got the best, transportation route. It's going to give me a really great range of opportunities for my students. This is where I'm going to focus. This is who I'm going to pitch to first to see if we can get something set up for next school year. So then you got to do your homework, right? You need to kind of see, what is this business all about? There's lots of ways to kind of go about this, but what I had mentioned earlier about that kind of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives that are pretty hot topics right now, look for alignments with that company culture. You might see statements on websites about kind of how they're trying to diversify their workforce and what their company culture is like. Take notes on that. See what they say they stand for, kind of out there in their marketing or publications as potential talking points with that business. What are their current and future workforce needs? What are they hiring a ton? Are they building? Are they expanding? What is it looking like right now? If there's a business that's sitting pretty stagnant, this might not be the best place because they might not have as much opportunity in the future. Not saying that you couldn't have a work site at a place that it doesn't have a ton of turnover, because that's not true. Because obviously you can build transferable skills, but just kind of put your finger on the pulse of what their needs seem to be right now. If possible, I highly suggest observing that environment. So if you're considering a community college campus near you, go and spend an afternoon there. Check it out. Just sit and observe and see kind of what you see the employees doing, what seems to be going on, what is the pace, what are the smells, what are the sounds. Just kind of put your eyes on it. So when you're speaking with, hopefully in the future, the opportunity to pitch this opportunity to the business, you've seen it and you know what it looks like. If it's a private business, see if you can set up a tour. They might be willing to just give you just a tour around just so you can get a better feeling for what that business is like. And I think also in that research kind of homework end of things, you want to see like who's who in this business. See if you can figure out kind of what the hierarchy is within this business. Who would you kind of need to talk to get approval within those kind of opportunities that you think might be a good match for your students? Like, who are the people working within those environments, even not the person's name necessarily, but just kind of the positions within that business, where you're kind of targeting and who the people are that might be providing those natural supports, and who would be providing the training potentially, and kind of who the higher ups might be that you would need to speak to get that approval. So you kind of have a good blueprint for what this business is about when you approach them. So you kind of identified your business, you've done some homework, so you've got kind of a good understanding of them, and then you need to figure out what you're going to be asking of them, right? You need to set a program vision. What am I going to go to them and ask? Because you have to have this really organized. We need to think, all right, these businesses don't necessarily owe us anything. So if we can get a chance to speak with them, we want to make sure that we come with a clear plan we've done our research, we know about them, we know what we're asking of them. So it's a really easy conversation that is prepared, so you can hopefully walk away with kind of a next step or something documented with that potential worksite. So you want to draft what you're asking of them. Based on your homework, what ideas do you have to start the conversation with the business? Sketch it out, get your thoughts about what you're asking, what kind of timeline you'd like this to happen on. Maybe have a drafted work-based learning plan. That's going to give this shared accountability. You are going to show them that you did the work, you're prepared, you have ideas, there's going to be a plan. And they can also see what their shared accountability will be. You've done your part? What are you asking them to do for this program to work? And really thinking about when you develop that partnership agreement, one of the things that I personally experienced, and I would suggest if this is something that is possible, if you're going to be spending all day in a work site potentially, and you're going to be bringing maybe a brown lunch from the cafeteria at school, a brown bag lunch, excuse me. It's really nice to have a place because, our students come with backpacks or maybe medication or, different things that they need to have with them. It would be nice if you can potentially get a dedicated space to put stuff, even if it's a closet, or a corner, of a cafeteria space that you could put items that would be safely secured. Just thinking about a space where you might want to be able to meet with students or provide, instruction or little training opportunities throughout, or store personal belongings. That's something that benefited me a ton. Personally, when I had work sites, was having that dedicated space. Because if you are spending all day, it's hard to kind of feel like you're on top of everyone when you do need to because you will at some point need to gather your group, right? And having a classroom of students in the middle of a workplace can be a little intrusive. So something just to consider if you see that might be a potential, build that into your partnership agreement. Okay, I'm going to go back to that slide I just had on. So you want to, like you said, sketch out based on your homework, what you're asking, think about your timeline, again, we don't ask for the world right away. So maybe think about a couple of internship experiences that might be a good fit within that business based on your homework, what you want this partnership agreement to look like and what the plan would be. You have that drafted up. Then you need to make sure that it is clear that this isn't just something that you do and then it just sits stagnant and the students come every day. There needs to be an embedded evaluation system, not just for the interns, so they can get feedback, which is the most important, but also so there's some sort of system of review and feedback for the work-based learning, worksite experience as a whole. What is the feedback they need to provide you on kind of the program and what's working and what isn't working for them? So you can fold in more supports or think differently about the program, but also so you can provide feedback to them. This might be the first time ever working with an individual with a disability. So what is that system for providing feedback and support for both the business and then for them to give feedback and to you as the teacher or the coordinator, if you will, of the program. So you of course want to have a formative and summative review that should, that's a minimum, right? It should be kind of something towards the beginning, goal setting, something towards the end as feedback. I highly suggest there be regular kind of intervals of review and feedback, but also thinking about who's involved in that. Okay. I know we as educators really want to be in there so we can hear what they're saying and what have you, but also might not be the best experience for the student or the intern, because they should be getting that feedback themselves and learning how to navigate that kind of thing. Of course, we can front load some training and things for our students so they can be prepared for kind of a feedback or evaluation session with whoever their direct supervisor is. Of course, you can request to be given copies of the feedback and evaluation. But what makes the most sense? Who should be there? Should it be a job coach, their supervisor, and the intern? Should it just be the intern and the supervisor, and you meet with the supervisor separately? Thinking about what you're asking of them. Again, this is another part of the ask. We're not just asking for a work site and for our students to be able to be an intern, but we also are asking time for them to complete an evaluation, provide that feedback, because this is a training, right? An educational experience. We want to make sure that that is embedded and it is clear that that's going to be a part of the ask, that there's an evaluation system and what that needs to look like. So it is very clear from the onset that you know that not only are you going to be showing up every day for 4 hours, but also you're going to be needing to set up these meetings. And is that something that they can commit to? And at what cadence can that be committed to? The pink elephant in the room, and always seems to come up with every business that I think I've encountered, is this liability concern. There's always a question about what if they get hurt? What if something bad happens? Which, of course, we want to protect our students and we want to make sure everyone is safe. Yes, absolutely. But there is always going to be a question, not always, sorry. There is more than likely going to be a question that you should be prepared for, which is kind of the liability and insurance concerns that seem to come up regularly. So this is something, again, to make sure that you're prepared for and know that it's probably going to get asked at some point. So you need to talk to your district and figure out what are our policies on this. There are state laws in Illinois that are very clear, but I will say that in most times, these policies and laws are under career and technical education. Okay, they're going to be under CTE. So if you go sniffing around in special education or specialized services in your district, you're probably not going to find it. It's more than likely going to be under your CTE provisions. So make sure that you've looked into this and you have that information, or you can get that information easily and know that this is more than likely going to be asked. If a business says, nope, it's too scary, it's too much liability, there's too much potential for something bad to happen, that doesn't necessarily need to close the door to your students being able to learn from that environment. So maybe going back to that work-based learning continuum that we showed really early on, maybe there's a different way for them to start this engagement. Again, a lot of this comes from a place of fear and unknown. They just don't know. And they're worried and they don't want to be held accountable for something bad happening because they don't necessarily understand what it means to have an individual with a disability in their workspace. So could we just start with a job shadow? Can my students come and do a job shadow or a job sampling and spend a day or two seeing what it's like to be in this work environment? Maybe that's just the little toe in the door that will open more opportunities. Maybe they'll come and do a career talk or, provide some different experiences that are kind of lower on that continuum. I think lower risk from the eyes of a business as a potential starting point to see if maybe we can build some buy-in through them just seeing what our students are like and what this might be. So if the liability thing comes up and they just simply aren't ready or comfortable or what have you, don't just walk away and say, thank you very much. See if there's something else that they might be able to offer, some different opportunities. Even if it's not an ongoing work site, there's plenty of different experiences they could offer that could be really beneficial. And to that point, having your worksite agreement drafted, again, not finalized, because they might need to change some things too from the business perspective, but just knowing, hey, I know liability sounds scary. I know that we want to make sure that we're all on the same page with, insurance coverage and things like that. Here's a draft of what our agreement looks like. This is what the state law says. This is what our district covers. This is what we'd be asking of you, just to make sure that they know that you came to this prepared and you thought about this and this is going to be a concern and we've got answers for it. So maybe that will kind of ease some of those worries as well. I think the theme, if we haven't picked up on it, is being prepared and doing our homework and it really going in knowing time is of the essence here, right? We need to kind of think about our pitch and what this is going to be. What am I asking of you? And kind of going through the talking points in that first bullet. What am I asking of you as the business? This is what the program is. This is kind of what we've sketched out as far as what we're kind of asking. This is why it would be beneficial to your business. This is why it will be beneficial to students and the community as a whole. Have those really quick and easy elevator pitch, talking points ready to go. And the first meeting isn't 3 hours. The first meeting is, hey, this is who I am. This is what we are looking to set up. This is why we think it would be a really great benefit to you and your business. This is how this experience will better the community as a whole and the potential futures of our students. And we'll follow up, or we'd love to discuss more or answer any questions you might have. But again, this isn't a huge meeting. This should be an introductory, so we don't overstay our welcome to start. And really show them that we're here because we came prepared with ideas and we've done our research on your business, and all you have to do is say yes. Make it nice and easy. And also knowing like who you're talking to, thinking about, once you get that meeting, do a LinkedIn search, figure out who they are, see if you can, pull in any heartstrings, or really just be aware of what their position is within the business. They might have to shoot it up the flagpole to other people, and that's fine. That's why you come prepared with the drafts of ideas and kind of what that plan would look like, so they can share that with someone else or set up a follow-up meeting. Things to consider when it comes to that sort of outreach. Other things you want to make sure that you are prepared for in those talking points. They're going to ask who's paying for this. You're going to say, "Ooh, this seems pretty low cost. I don't think this is going to cost you anything, business person." You want to make sure that you've already thought about what those benefits are that are mutual. You've already thought about what you are going to provide and what you're asking of them as far as the training and support. But also recognizing that this isn't just you going in and begging and groveling for something, that this is a two-sided partnership. You need to make sure that you are able to ask questions so you feel good about this being experienced. You want to go somewhere where your students are welcomed and embraced and valued, and not something that someone agrees to begrudgingly because they feel like they have to, or they'd be a monster if they didn't. So it is important that you're thinking of what you could ask them as well to make sure that you're feeling confident that this would be a really good partnership and not just something where you're pushing into a business that doesn't feel on board with the experience. I think something else that I've personally seen work, and I'm going to show you an example in a moment, is how do you kind of, again, to the point of that video I showed you earlier, seeing it changes everything. Seeing what it looks like, having a better visual or personal anecdotes or examples of other businesses that have done something like this and have had really great success with it. If you can you can borrow one of the videos that I'm showing you today, or create your own. If you have one job site that's really booming and you think it'd be great to show other businesses so they can see what it looks like, get some little video shorts or testimonials from students or businesses that have participated in the past. Even a flyer to show like what you're about or what you're trying to establish. I think social media can go a long way, again, to that sort of, this looks good for you, business person. You can promote the experiences and who's offering what in your community to kind of put it out there for the world to see, you know, like this is what we're doing. These are our partnerships, which really could potentially allow people to see an opportunity that they didn't necessarily see before. People are connected in those chambers of commerce, those other workforce boards, or, you know, unions and things. There's kind of a word of mouth out there where people talk about what they're doing. And I think that's a great way for kind of drumming up some excitement or more awareness of what these experiences could look like. I think there's a lot of other ideas I wish I could ask you, but you're not here right now with me. So I want to just put out some of the examples of ways that you should really be thinking about promoting what you're doing and what you're trying to do. So the next thing we're going to watch is a really awesome promo video from Southside Occupational Academy, which is in the south side of Chicago. And this is showing some interns that work at the University of Chicago Medical Center and what their kind of experience was there. And they created this video to use as a promotional tool to get other work sites. And this was filmed years ago, and they have well over a dozen work sites now. And they use this as a way to kind of help other businesses see what this could look like.
Let's go to work. Have a good day. Johnny, Shaquille, Al, Brandon, have a good day.
My name is Brandon Logan. My goal was to work at USC Chicago Manson. Well, I do is clean up the bathrooms, the office, the stairs, the lobbies.
Brandon is a student that we had here for 2 years. He has done remarkable. He's so proud of what he does.
My name is Joshua Long. I'm the principal at Southside Occupational Academy. All of our students have disabilities. With the students that we have in our school, we tend to look at their abilities, not their disability. So kind of my big goal for my students is to assist them in becoming as independent as possible upon graduation.
So the University of Chicago Medicine is an anchor institution on the south side of Chicago. So one of the things that we do is involve ourselves in the community and work with the assets that are on the south side in our neighborhoods to help improve health. Southside Occupational Academy is a school that does great work with young adults that are an important part of our community.
Great job yesterday, buddy. Good job. Good morning, Aubrey. How are you? Good. The University of Chicago Medicine has been wonderful in opening their doors to Southside Occupational Academy and allowing our students and myself and my team to come in here and train and work with these kids daily and help them become as independent as possible and learn low entry level skills.
Good morning. You always have to remember, always be on time, always be groomed, nice, good hygiene, and always positive attitude.
They are so happy to be here. The smiles on their faces when they come into work every day.
Have your IDs on, sign in, and get ready to work.
I think the prepping at the school definitely played a benefit here.
We have created environments across our school that are realistic learning environments.
Could be 160 degrees. So how high? 160. Okay.
We have a cafe, we have a culinary arts room, we have a simulated grocery store, a laundry room, and a dish room. We even have a 1-bedroom apartment in our school. So at the beginning, when a student enters Southside Occupational Academy, they take classes that are highly structured and solely focused on essential skills that students will need once they get to an internship.
Do we have our wet floor sign if we're going in the bathrooms? Do we have a wet floor sign, guys?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Check it off.
It does pay off because it teaches them discipline in the workplace. When they come here, they're very disciplined, they're very courteous, they do communicate well with the manager or supervisor. Those are skills that obviously have been taught in the program.
So today we're going to work on completing our tasks on time. And what's the most important thing in order to complete your task on time? What do you really have to do? You have to stay focused and think.
There were reservations from our HR department and other departments wondering how the students would fit in, if they were going to take jobs from our union employees, and just the logistics things that go along with starting a program up like this.
So we did everything we could communications wise to strip some of that concern away, that this is a program that is employment training, but incredibly important to our community and to the young people who are participating in it.
Hello, welcome to UC Medicine. How may we help you? I like saying good morning to everyone, and I like how the people say good morning back.
They are in food services. They're serving patients. They are helping our staff members. They are working with food all day long. They're cleaning the tables. They are helping clean the patient rooms, the floors, the lobbies. They are actually helping provide the services that we need done every single day.
These young men and women brighten our lives every day, and not just the employees that work here, also the patients, because they're so visible.
They have always seen our students for who they are and looked at their abilities and helped them overcome their disability.
Nice kidding.
Brandon's amazing. He gets it. He understands it. It's not just a task. It's not just someone doing their job. He's actually doing it because he knows it's going to mean something. He was hired at the end of last year along with 3 other students. And I think his pride and his ability to really take his job seriously, just, he's an inspiration to me personally.
Well, the day I found I got a job, I did cry a little bit, y'all. Just let y'all know. It was happy tears. I was so proud I got the job at University of Madison. Sometimes y'all see me working hard. I'm working hard, so I do a good job, make the boss proud, and make my principal very proud of me.
Without Sherry Iverson, without Jason Keeler, our COO, without Sharon O'Keefe, the president, none of this would have been possible. I think you'll find if you open your eyes, open your hearts to these young men and women, that they will make your organization better, because they've definitely made our organization better.
When businesses are questioning whether or not a program like this is doable, my advice to them is just to think about starting very small, because we really do have the expertise and the staff, and most importantly, we have the students available to be able to support businesses in doing these kinds of endeavors.
It's a must. It's a must. We have so many students out there that need this. They need this program. They need the training. We have the capability of providing that training. Why not? Why not? Why not reach out and do that?
I was able to think about what our students were going to do, and I knew they would be successful, and I hope that some of them will get jobs. Brandon is such a proud moment for all of us to think about, but then to think about how some of the other people here at the hospital have talked about how our students have touched their lives and how they've, changed the environment here within the hospital, or how patients have responded that, they were helped out by one of the students in a blue shirt. I mean, that's just, it's overwhelming.
Okay. So as you can see, that would be a really powerful tool to have if you do have a work site that you could. That's a very elaborate promotional video, I think, but you absolutely could utilize a similar format to kind of promote a potential opportunity, or just highlight or illustrate what our work-based learning experiences could look like. So as I know, or as I mentioned, we did not, unfortunately, give you the one thing you can do to set up work sites, but I think, or I hope that really thinking about how we can explore larger businesses as potential work sites for a group of students in a range of internship opportunities within that one facility could provide a solution or a potential opportunity for work-based learning in a way that you haven't provided it before or have been able to kind of set something up like that before. We do have resources, as I'd mentioned, on our website that I think you would benefit from following up with. I did mention that community mapping. We have resources on those worksite agreements that we talked about earlier that I, didn't spend a ton of time because this is more about establishing those partnerships, but we do have a session on workplace agreements. So you can see what those would look like and what sort of things your district should consider including in their worksite agreements. All of that is at ictw.illinois.edu, where you can find this and other topics on our website, everything from customized employment, pathways to employment, self-determination, transition assessments, work-based learning experiences, kind of all those things we talked about before, more information on WIOA. I think if you're interested in this workshop, I really do think you'll find a lot more resources on our website that could benefit you and your school. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you at one of our workshops in the future.